It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Kuralt.
This country is waging a losing war, the war against illegal drugs. This week, President Reagan is expected to ask Congress to send in a battalion of fresh troops, 1,200 new narcotics agents and prosecutors, at a cost of $130 million. Here is Liz Trotta's report from the front lines, our Sunday morning cover story.
It was just what the president wanted, an enormous achievement in the midst of post-election Republican blues and a spirit of rebellion from an unruly Congress. His task force on illegal drugs in Florida had scored big. The president is so committed to America's war on illegal drugs, he flew down to Florida to declare a great victory and to launch a new offensive against those who would deal in them.
The influx of drugs into South Florida and other areas of the nation is still a serious problem. Much of the work against this menace lies ahead of us.
We have an opening here. That might be here on.
From my perspective, the drug problem is the worst problem that this country has. I am firmly convinced that the drug problem is the one most serious crime problem that we have.
That was Francis Mullen, top man in the Drug Enforcement Administration. It was his agents who fought the drug battle so well in Miami, the president himself saluted them publicly.
There's no question that the South Florida Task Force has been a clear and unqualified success.
This is cocaine. This is what this is.
Since a special task force was formed last January, more than $3 billion worth of illegal drugs have been seized in South Florida. That is an impressive result, but only the beginning of the war against drugs. For even as the net closed around Florida, the drug dealers were landing on other beaches. A new invasion had already begun.
It's available because there's so much out there and there's so much money involved. People take any risk at all, even serve 4 and 5 years in prison thinking they'd make $1 million, $2 or $3 million. So it's just the demand is so great, the availability is so great, and there are those willing to take a chance to bring it in the country.
The Samson fishing vessel Samson, this is the United States Coast Guard. You are directed to stop your vessel.
The state of Florida is still the #1 entry point for drugs flowing illegally into the United States. But if Florida is a pharmacy for drug users, then Houston is a potential supermarket. When you ask someone around here where the drugs are, they often say, everywhere.
Cerca, muy cerquita de ti, yo quisiera vivir por toditita la vida.
In Houston, as is the pattern in most areas, the amount of money a person has usually determines the kinds of drugs he takes. Heroin, for example, is most popular in the near north area where there are high concentrations of Mexican Americans and blacks, and where there is often little hope of breaking out of the poverty cycle.
Cerca, muy cerquita de ti, yo quisiera vivir por toditita la.
Casting a shadow over these neighborhoods are the gleaming office towers of the very rich and the middle class. In the nation's oil capital, wealth and consumption are not only conspicuous, but often associated with drugs such as marijuana, speed, and especially cocaine. It is cocaine that has reached equal status with a Rolls-Royce or a fancy house. Like everything in Texas, the drug business is big here.
We look at Houston, we see that it has everything to offer that Miami has. We have over 600 miles of coastline in Texas alone, in the Gulf. We find that we're a major financial center. The proximity to South America, we definitely feel that we're becoming the new Miami.
Marion Hambrick runs the DEA office in Houston.
We have numerous private airfields, and just the Houston area alone that we're aware of, we have over 100. You could probably multiply that by tenfold as you broaden the area to the metropolitan area. We're buried. We're buried with work.
Hambrick's front line of defense is being overwhelmed. At the moment, he has fewer than one agent available for each of the 115 counties under his responsibility. Even the U.S. Customs and immigration officials at the international airport are barely holding their own.
You ready?
Dogs who sniff out drugs are useful, but they simply can't keep up with the alarming influx and with ever more ingenious ways traffickers are smuggling drugs into the country. Instead of hiding drugs in suitcases, couriers now are wrapping the substance in plastic bags and then swallowing them.
Stay there until the light turn green, sir. No?
The latest weapon in this losing war is a vaporizer, virtually a smelling machine that sniffs out drugs. But for every new weapon developed to fight drug smuggling, the traffickers have been able to come up with their own device to neutralize it.
We find on many occasions they have better equipment than we have, better communications, better aircraft, better cars, and better homes. But we have the law on our side, and therefore, in the end, I believe, will prevail.
It's a long way in distance and perspective from Washington to the streets of Houston, and despite what top officials say about winning the drug war, the men who work the streets know better.
A lot of people have to live on the street. We see it firsthand, and it's terrible.
Lieutenant Jim Waller is head of the Harris County Narcotics Division, which consists of 9 men. Their total budget for paying informers, buying drugs, and meeting other expenses is $360 a month.
You have to understand something about the people in Washington. The people in Washington have to depend on a bureaucracy to tell them what's happening, okay? By the time it gets to Washington, all the reports are written and the supervisors, make their little footnotes to the reports and, hey, don't make it look that bad and so forth and so on. By the time it gets to Washington, maybe it doesn't reflect exactly what's going on in the streets. See, here's a dope sale right here.
Where?
They're dealing right there in that car. How many you want? Huh? How many you got, man? I don't think you want to do it, though, do you?
On the street, the dealers and the users are getting younger, much younger. And it is this stark and ugly fact that has raised the question of the quality of future generations and what the character of America would be.
Well, I started getting high when I was about 11 or 12.
These teenagers are enrolled in a Houston drug rehabilitation program.
I started getting high when I was about 9 years old. I started smoking dope and got into harder drugs after that.
I started getting high when I was about 7 or 8, and it started mostly from my brothers. I had 2 older brothers, and I said, hey, try this.
The violator that we were dealing with had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And he was telling my undercover man, he said, yeah, my 4-year-old's been up for 3 days now. He got into some of my crystal, some of my crank. He's been up for 3 solid days. And they were negotiating, and the little 4-year-old licked his finger and got some crank, some crystal methamphetamine off the table, and put it on his tongue. His comment was, oh, no, he'll be up for 3 more days. What chance does that kid have in life?
Oh, I'm recovered right now, but not fully. I'm still a drug fiend. I've literally beat the living daylights out of somebody, just so I could have that little joint or, a couple of dollars they had.
Yeah, you can steal from other people, but when you steal from your own family, that's probably one of the worst feelings that you can get. And
I was living on the streets for a long time. I'd run away all the time. I was running away all the time just because I couldn't handle things at home.
The children may be at the end of the illegal drug line, but this is the beginning. the misty hills and silent jungles of South America, the Middle East, and the Far East. The majority of illegal drugs entering the United States comes from South America. Marijuana is supplied chiefly from Mexico, Colombia, and 30 of the United States. Heroin from the Middle East, Europe, and Mexico, and cocaine, fastest growing of illegal drugs, comes mainly from Colombia and Bolivia. In fact, the Bolivian cocaine smuggling business is said to be more lucrative than the exporting of tin, which is the major legal industry.
See, this is 2000.
Estimates about the amount of money made each year in the drug trade go as high as $200 billion. And to confront this astonishing volume, the DEA has 1,800 agents worldwide, fewer men than the New York City Transit Authority has on its police force. Add to this money and manpower obstacle the fact that many of the foreign governments involved are winking at the illegal drug trade because they profit from it. A woman we shall call Juanita has first-hand knowledge of the South American drug trade and its corruption.
I know for a fact that the people are in the government, the people, the really the big ones, like the generals, the people really up there, they are the one. In order to get more power in the country, when they decide to get some kind of position, they do that. They deal with drugs to get enough money to get what they want.
President Reagan wants to win the drug war, and he knows America's foreign policy must adjust itself to the idea of enforcement, to the idea of using much more than friendly persuasion to stop the corruption.
Okay, ya entendemos. Si ustedes nos siguen por 2 o 3 millas.
We have authorization to board your vessel.
But when one nation starts to muscle another, then there is a price. And in South America, the price is likely to encourage a threat from the left, disrupt the import of precious raw materials, and generally upset the delicate balance by which America still retains her influence in this hemisphere. As part of his South American tour, the president will visit Colombia next Friday. He probably will discuss the drug trade privately with President Betancourt. It will not be easy for the president, knowing the drug war can be won, but having to consider the price. It will be even more expensive not to pay that price.